Hello, and welcome to another episode of my tutorial series for VCV Rack 0.5. In this episode, let's take a look at Hot Bunny. Hot Bunny is a new module, a paid module by, let's see, what's his name? Matthew Friedrichs. And it's currently $5. It will eventually go up to 20 apparently on the website, I believe. If you order it, he gives you this patch to explore it. Let's listen to it. So Hot Bunny is this module right here. And you can see up above, this patch has, like 5 over here and 2 over here. He's got a whole bunch of this module in this patch. It's kind of a cool sound, I think, actually. Now, mainly what he's doing with this, what Hot Bunny is a random noise module. He's using clouds, otherwise known as texture synthesizer, driven by some VCOs with a whole bunch of inputs into this thing. And he's also using a spring reverb with some more inputs and the output of clouds to create some interesting soundscape. Sounds pretty good. But let's take a look at Hot Bunny itself. I'll turn down this. I'll just leave it running in the background in a soft volume so you can still hear it, but since this is focusing on Hot Bunny itself, let's try to scope it. So let's go this way. So this is an input right here, and there's 4 outputs to this thing with 2 knobs. So if we scope this thing, turn down the time. So if we turn this knob right here, actually let's scope all 4 so we can actually see it. Scope this one and this one. So now you can kind of see what it's doing. So all by itself, without me touching it at all. So if I go right click and initialize, it's basically making random values on each of these inputs. So this top one is making this kind of stepped voltage from 0 to 10, it looks like. And this one is making the second one is making kind of a smooth voltage from 0 to 10. I don't think these two are related, because you can see, like, sometimes, like, if you were to pause this thing, I wish this scope had a pause button. Sometimes it's high, sometimes the other one's low. They don't seem too correlated to me. So on this one, the third output is just a gate, binary on-off. The last one, let me zoom the time in just a little bit more. You can kind of see it's almost like a triangle pattern. It's kind of interesting. All right, so what do these knobs do up here? So if we play with this one, you can kind of see the clock slows down. So as I turn it higher and higher, it gets faster and faster. So it's basically a global clock. So I turn it all the way up, it's operating very quick. So I had to scope in my changes, really, ramp up my time to actually see the same thing I saw before. So that's that. Now this one doesn't seem to do anything. So let's go. All right, so the dual attenuator. So we looked at the dual attenuator in one of the previous episodes, I believe, from BFACO. And that's simply, this guy's gonna, so let's see, let's scope this guy also. So if I right click and duplicate, put a scope on this guy, look at his output. So if we recall, this is just simply an offset. So it goes from 0 kind of all the way up to 1, or 10. So it says right there 10, max is 10. All right, so if we leave them at 0 and we bring this output into this input, then nothing happens because he's at 0. Now if we ramp him up, as we ramp him up to 10, you can see the clock gets really crazy again. It's basically, it's a clock modifier. So so this is almost an attenuator for this input right here, So as I ramp this down, the clock slows down again. As I ramp it up, the clock goes nuts again. So we basically have a clock input with an attenuator. Now if I ramp this one up, does this one do anything? Yeah, it still controls. So they're both in effect. Both this guy and this guy. So if you ramp them both up, I guess it's going to be extra nuts. That's probably as fast as it can go, huh? Like that. But anyways, that's kind of all this module is. Now, what do you do with this? And I think this gives you an example of what you have to do with it. You have to use it somehow in some other module. So you have to be creative about. So like if you go and look at, let's get rid of this stuff. So if you go look at what he's doing, so he's got this binary module. Let's ramp up this guy again. He's got this output 3. If you remember, this is output 3 is the binary on-off. He's using that. He's only using that in one spot right here to trigger this freeze on and off every once in a while. And he's got these clocks running pretty slow. So if you go and scope this stuff, let's duplicate this again. So you can see his. So if you the time, which way is the time? This way, I guess, huh? Yeah, there we go. So you can see it's basically, this is a very slow clock, the way he set it up right here. And so it's off for a long time, it's on for a long time. And so he's using that to kind of control this freeze knob. And what this clouds is doing, there's a lot of videos on clouds. This is also called the texture synthesizer. This is available in the Audible Instruments texture synthesizer, which is basically a direct port of clouds. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube about clouds, so I'm not going to go into it. But it basically is a way to sample sound and then play it back, so you get these kind of interesting patterns, kind of like you're hearing here. Kind of a background texture. So he's got basically Hot Bunny routed into almost all of these control knobs to control all the position, size, pitch, grain, and so on. And the input is, if you look at this, the input is the output of the VCO2, and then he's outputting, and the input right is ran through a VCF, a frequency guy, low pass filter, and the frequency is being controlled by another Hot Bunny, the second guy. So it looks like that. So he's controlling the frequency with like this kind of curve. Let's scope that and see what that frequency guy looks like. So you can kind of see how he's very slowly moving the frequency knob. Let's look at these two, just for fun. So a lot of these are very slow movements, which is kind of neat. So you're kind of getting this interesting random variation. The other interesting thing is in the module pack, he says we'll add more modules as time goes on. So that's always a benefit. There's also another module in the pack that we should look at real quick. So it's called Carrot Patch. Wish we could label these. That's the only kind of downfall of these modules. They're not very labeled. I wonder if Carrot Patch is identical, just doesn't have this top knob. Let's check it out. duplicate one of these guys and scope it. Duplicate. I believe it is. Yeah, it looks pretty similar. And then if we use a Bufeco attenuator, take the output of this guy, put it in here. Yeah, that's just a clock. Yeah, so carrot patch is the same thing, just doesn't have an attenuator at the top. So you can effectively ignore it. I think that's a pretty reasonable look at Hot Bunny. I'm excited to see what else he comes along with. I think this is actually a pretty good module in terms of the space. Because one thing is even virtual screen real estate is important because you don't want to clutter your screen with a bunch of large modules if you can help it. Making it compact is actually a nice thing. I just wish you would label these. Anyway, that's a look at Hot Bunny. See you next time. Thanks for watching.